It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What you got Wednesday idea? Family performing groups.
Okay.
Would Jackson 5 be the automatic number 1? I know we've got a lot of Osmond folk around here.
But I like it.
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
All right. It's Jake and Ben. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com. Sponsored by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, Tyrese Halliburton was only on one leg, but the Pacers forced Game 7.
It's the finals. All of us got to give everything we have. I give everything I have for this group in this locker room. So just trying to come out here and play the best of my ability. My guys have had my back all year, and especially tonight, and that means the world to me.
Man, what is not to love about my Pacers?
It's an awesome team. It's really one of the cooler teams we've seen in the last several, I would even say decades of the NBA. Honestly, they win. I think they go down in lore as like the 03-04 Pistons that beat the Lakers. And you just thought, like, how did that team full of good players, and I think at one point, didn't the entire starting 5 make it to the All-Star team, or all of them but Tayshaun Prince did, or whatever it was? It's like they're a high-quality team. But we have had some examples of these teams over the past little while, and a lot of them flame out that you think, like, oh, that's a cool team. And then they actually kind of push comes to shove and they get exposed. And I brought up the Grindhouse Memphis Grizzlies, or Grind City, and like kind of how cool of a franchise or team that was. They never made it to the finals. If you wanted to say it was the Hawks that made that random run to the Eastern Conference Finals with Trae Young, they've never gotten close to getting back there. You might argue it set back the Portland Trailblazers 5 years because they made that one goofy run. And they kept investing and thinking, like, maybe Dame and C.J. McCollum can get us there again. And they never got close. So these teams that have made these improbable runs that never actually got close, and it was more fluky, I think it's safe to pull the Pacers out of that conversation. There's nothing fluky about this. They have one of the greatest regular season teams we've ever seen in this Oklahoma City Thunder roster, 100% on the ropes. That Pacers team, or that Thunder team, made a bunch of adjustments in games 4 and 5 to make sure they didn't fall down 3-1. They were getting back to playing Hartenstein in the starting lineup. They were changing the way they were using Jalen Williams as like a driver instead of a guy who's kind of just playing off the ball a little bit more. And I wonder if they've punched themselves out. Like, I wonder if they have the adjustment now to go back and win Game 7 at home. Certainly they can, but you almost wonder if this series now favors the Pacers.
It does feel like Daignault is a little bit of a blind man wandering in the forest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're right about the Hartenstein getting him back into the action. Well, why was he out in the first place?
Yeah, why did you pull him out?
In these big, like, and you pointed this out, I think, but these big, like, major changes at the weirdest possible time.
Before the series started.
Yeah. Like, what?
You guys went 68 games.
What are you doing? They should be adjusting to you. We had this discussion at the time, and Indiana is certainly a flawed team, and it's wild that they've been the one who's kind of forced the adjustments, and Oklahoma City is wandering around wondering what to do. It's interesting, but Carlisle's a great coach.
And they looked truly clueless last night. I mean, they didn't look like they knew how to stop what was coming at them.
And the bleeding heart in me really likes the whole, like, who's our guy from Indiana who joins us?
Eddie White.
Eddie White, who's so great. Told us, and I've heard it from a couple of different places about this flowery story about Pascal Siakam, who was, acquired so late and sees the potential, has them all together during the offseason, and they have this kumbaya moment where they're really going to be this team of all teams. And, it's probably exaggerated, of course, but, like, I would love to think that stuff wins.
Uh-huh.
And I guess not that Oklahoma City doesn't have that stuff, because you and I have talked about it. I do think it's cool, the commercial with the 3 of them as opposed to just Shea, and it seems like they've got a fair amount of that too. But I like to believe in that stuff. That's part of the, I don't know, sports romantic, I suppose.
It's what you're talking about, I think, is that this is a very well-connected team. And the Thunder are too, but the connectivity of this roster is really cool. It's not a bunch of individuals playing a part. It's a bunch of individuals who are funky, weird players.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton's a weird player. There's not a lot of guys like him. I kind of compared him to, he's got a little Steve Nash in him, but he's way taller. He's like not overwhelmingly statistically productive, but he's really good. Pascal's the same way. Like Pascal
Obi
had
Toppin.
Yeah, Obi Toppin's like a total Knicks cast-off that they're like, yeah, great athlete, doesn't really do a whole lot else, is totally figured out. Miles Turner is a weird player. Like the things he does well, he hasn't done well at all in this series and still was really impactful last night. Nemhart's a weird player. They're just loaded with T.J. McConnell. Everyone loves 3-and-D players. He's a 3-and-2 player or a 2-and-D player. He doesn't take threes. He likes to shoot those weird little mid-range jump shots. It's like they have all these funky dudes that have worked together. Rick Carlisle's a cast-off, right? He got chased out of Dallas.
Well, and Detroit for that matter.
And Detroit. And it all comes together, and it all really works together.
You know, you think of the championship team that Carlisle did have, to your point, Ben. That was a pretty wonky team, too. We remember Dirk, but it wasn't Dirk and Steve Nash.
We've also crowned Dirk as something he wasn't when he was playing.
Right.
He's also an extraordinarily flawed NBA player.
100%. But do you remember Jason Kidd had one foot in the grave when he was playing for that team? Jason Terry, the Jet, played a huge role. He had bounced around 4 or 5 different teams.
Jet, funky player. Jason Kidd, by that point, funky player. Tyson Chandler, funky player. Michael Finley, funky player. Like, good players, no question, but like weird players.
That fit and played well when they fit.
Yeah.
And in other places did not fit. Tyson Chandler spent the rest of his career basically chasing.
And had been chased off of, where did he start, Chicago?
No, the Hornets.
Hornets? Was he drafted by Chicago and traded? Whatever it was.
That's what it was. He was drafted by Chicago and traded to. He ended up in the Hornets because he had that. Remember that pick and roll season he had with Chris Paul when Chris Paul was young in his career.
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking Hornets in Charlotte. You're right. In New Orleans.
In New Orleans,
Hornets. He played for the Knicks for a while. He just was a weird player.
Yeah.
He did spend a year with the Charlotte Bobcats.
The Bobcats. That's probably when they moved. It's probably on that roster when they moved spots. But yeah, weird player. But Rick Carlisle is really good with those types of guys. And credit him. That's awesome. That's really good coaching. I think one of the things we get wrong in the NBA draft is trying to find flawless players. And I think it's like, no, you got to find ways to win with guys who are flawed.
Right. Make them better and then make them fit.
Yeah. And Carlisle is doing that at a very high level.
And that maybe is what I find so obnoxious about players like Luka. It's like you're not making anybody better. You're not making any fit.
Sure.
You're making yourself better, I guess, but like that's
and you're making
not,
guys fit you.
And you're great point.
Right.
And you're making guys fit you to the point where you're taking the ball out of LeBron James's hand in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a recipe for winning. I really don't.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
Number 2, BYU fans, mark your calendars. June 24th, 5-star prospect Ryder Lyons is going to announce his commitment.
That's what, Wednesday? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Ride or die, Ben.
He's the highest rated remaining quarterback on the board.
Sounds like it's between BYU and Oregon, by the way.
Okay.
He's from Folsom, and he's kind of a dual threat guy, but does have passing stats, so don't misunderstand that, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen BYU land big-time quarterbacks before. What happens next, you know? And in this day and age, who's to say he's even on the team? But, you know, anytime you can land a high-profile guy, that's a win. So I'd be curious to see what his compensation package looks like.
Yeah, and that's got to be what it's coming down to right now. I would imagine that's a big part of it. And maybe at this point you have so much money on the table from both schools, then you can really actually start to get back to nitpicking, you know, where do I want to live? What do I want my school life to look like? What's easier for my family, et cetera, et cetera. That's where it's interesting, and that's a good spot for BYU. If you can get there where you can compete financially, maybe you can sell these kids on different things.
I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head. Maybe we ask Mitch about it someday. Who's the highest-rated quarterback BYU's ever gotten that has actually succeeded at BYU?
Okay. Like who actually came in as a
Because
4-star, 5-star?
Ben Olsen, Jake Heaps, huge.
Bus.
And then didn't work out, right? Tanner Mangum, huge get.
Yeah. And was fine.
And was fine, but wasn't
honestly like Tanner of those is the best player.
But I mean, I certainly can't remember where Steve Young was, how he was thought of going into BYU. Jim McMahon, I know that Notre Dame passed on him, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know about some of those other quarterbacks, but
Taysom Hill was a 4-star.
He was a pretty big recruit and succeeded. John Beck was too.
Yeah.
Both out of Arizona, right? Both out of Phoenix.
Taysom?
I think
no. Taysom was like Idaho, right?
He was Idaho, and he was like, I don't know how big time a recruit. He definitely was one of those guys that had a vibe around him when he stepped on campus. You know what I mean?
I'm sure he looked like he was 21 years old when he was 16.
Right.
He's just that man child. So
I don't know. Interesting thought.
Yeah,
but BYU certainly has landed big time quarterbacks in the past, and we'll see what happens.
It would be great if you landed him. It just doesn't matter if you don't, because. How confident are we that these players are ever going to be good or see the field to the point you just said? And that was before the wackiness of the transfer portal.
Right.
So,
all right, what's next?
Number 3, in case you missed it, the Los Angeles Lakers sold for a record $10 billion, highest professional franchise sale ever.
I'll be curious how much of the Lakers the buses hold on to if we ever get that number.
I doubt it.
Is it 49%? Is it 40%? Is it 10%? Do they want out entirely?
Well, obviously they don't want out entirely. This feels like a Lakers or a bus family. I want my cake and eat it too, where we're going to sell the controlling, but I'm going to get it in writing. Because did you see all that where they said that Mark Cuban didn't get it in writing? Because this very same thing happened to Mark Cuban when he sold Dallas. He said, I'm still going to be the guy.
He thought he was going to be basically the president of basketball operations.
Yeah. And they stepped in and they said,
no, sir.
Never mind.
Yeah.
And he said, I should have gotten that in writing.
Yep.
So now Jeannie's getting it in writing, which I honestly don't think will mean much. I bet you the Lakers change pretty drastically how they run things. And I'd be surprised if she's around more than, I don't know, Ben, a couple of years. Or at least around in more than just, I don't know. What do you call it when Shaq buys part of the Kings?
It's
public face of it or whatever.
Yeah. I think what will be interesting is you could argue, and you would, one of the things that has held the Lakers back from just dominating the NBA with the advantage of being in LA in the history is that they have over-romanticized their history and let those people hang around a la Kurt and Jeannie Rambis and Magic Johnson and these people who shouldn't have anything to do with the basketball decision-making make decisions. And so if the new owners come in and let different people make smart decisions, they might be a much bigger juggernaut than they have been.
They'll be better. They'll be more well-run.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on the show a lot.
They don't need more advantages already.
That Mickey Mouse title covered up a lot of gross mismanagement.
Really, since the Gasol Kobe era ended, they've been underperforming as much as anybody in the NBA.
Bad decision after bad decision. And remember that Jeannie knifed her brother to wrest control of basketball decisions. What was his name? Jim? Where Mitch Kupchak and Jim were like, it's not all I have? Okay, we're gone.
Yeah.
And we're gone. Because the old man wanted Jim to take over the basketball part, and Jeannie was going to run the overall organization. Yeah. And then Jeannie pushed out Jim, and it's been bad the whole time. Magic was the one who landed LeBron, if you want to think about that. And LeBron didn't even come because
of the basketball product.
No, he came because he wanted to make a studio and thought this was the best thing for his brand or whatever. And the Lakers are the best brand in the NBA regardless.
Yeah, as they just showed by selling for $10 billion.
Man, I'd tell Jeannie and be like, dude, just buy an island. It's cool.
You know who I would feel weird today would be LeBron. This is a team that's going to turn over a new leaf and start building around the guy. And look, they did this with Shohei right away, right? They had Mookie Betts. They won a World Series before they had Shohei. They had come back. They were winning
a Mickey
again.
Mouse title.
They also won a 2020 title. But they won, and Mookie Betts was probably the best player in baseball. And the second they could go get Shohei, they went and got Shohei, and now it's the Shohei show.
Do you remember who owned the Dodgers before?
Who was it?
His name was Frank McCourt.
I know the name, yeah.
Bozo to genius scale, he would be like 90% bozo.
He's the parking lot guy.
But the 10% is really good. 90% bozo, but the 10% is pretty brilliant.
That was a really ugly divorce, right?
He lost the franchise because he got divorced, and Major League Baseball basically pushed him out because he couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so the new ownership group stepped in and bought it for, we'd have to go look at what billions they bought it for or whatever. And he kept the parking lot.
So funny.
He sold the stadium, he sold the franchise, and he kept the parking lot. So he's still putting nothing but sweet cash in his pocket
That is the funny thing. We talk about how there's no liquidity in owning a sports franchise. One of the places you get it is owning the parking lot.
Owning the parking lot.
Quite literally liquid money coming in. Like, it's just cash dollars at the door.
And all you have to do is pave it once every 10 years.
We'll paint it. We'll paint it. We'll pave it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, it'll cost us a few million, but I make a few million
every game.
homestand. Yeah. Great. Yeah, it is one of the great deals.
All I have to do is pay the teenager in the parking lot to go, only $70, sir.
Yeah, right. My son and his friends run the parking lot for me. The overhead is nothing. But I'm a trillionaire.
The 10%, really brilliant.
It's great.
But as far as running a franchise went, he was...
all bozo.
All bozo. All right, stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Eric Weddle, kind enough to join us. You find out you're up for the College Football Hall of Fame. What's your first thought when you get that phone call?
Just humbled by it all, quite honestly. I think I have a real shot is the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't think I have any shot at the NFL Hall of Fame. So when I look at the College Football Hall of Fame, I think, I belong there at some point, whether it's now or 10 years from now. Like, I think I belong as one of the best college football players to have played the game. So whenever it happens, or if it happens, like, you guys know me, I live life to the fullest. It's not going to change whether I fall asleep at 10 o'clock or midnight. I got many other things that are on my mind. But it's really humbling and truly honored, obviously, and know that it took coaches, players, faculty, family, wife, kids. Like, it doesn't happen alone.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.